Well, greetings and salutations, everybody, and welcome to part 2 of John Campea After Dark for, what is it today? Tuesday, October the 12th, 2021. Now, here's what this video is. We were doing a John Campea After Dark earlier, but before we had a chance to finish, Ann and I had something come up that we had to take care of. Don't worry, everything's fine. But something came up that we had to take care of so I had to cut the show a little bit short. And I promised everybody that I would finish off all the live questions that got sent in before I went to bed tonight. So that's what we're doing right now. And it's 11 o'clock in the evening right now where I am. So you're probably seeing this even later. But let's not waste any time and finish off those questions that got sent in a little bit earlier today, shall we? We're going to start getting picked up here with Shrek, who writes, there's a possibility that X-Men will be renamed to X-Women or X-People. Thoughts? Keep up the great work. Irrelevant. Doesn't matter. Listen, I've always personally considered the term X-Men as a gender-neutral term anyway. So if it was up to me, I would just keep it the way it is. X-Men has always been men and women in the team, right from the origins of the team. So I've always kind of considered it to be a gender-neutral term. But if they change it, it's just the name of the group. It doesn't really change anything. So I don't care. Personally, I would keep it the same. But if they change it, they change it. No big deal. All right. Suthius writes, was curious about Samurai Cop. Jesus Christ. You know, I've never watched it, but I've seen clips of it. This is like from the early 90s Samurai Cop. Never watched it myself, though. It looks a little bit crazy. All right. Next up, Abel Leon writes, hey, John, I just want to say thank you for being an inspiration throughout my life. Oh, thank you so much, man. I watch you since I was a kid and now about to be 19. You have convinced me to do something that I love, as I am now an EMT and loving everything that I do. That is awesome, man. Batman and Superman are heroes, but you are my superhero. Have a great night. Oh, dude, thank you so much. That's awfully nice of you to say. And hey, listen, being an EMT, awesome. Good on you. Thank you for serving our community that way. And thank you for the kind words, Abel. I really appreciate that, man. Okay, next up, we got Costas writes, hello from Australia. Hello. Thank you for writing in from there. How the 2008 comedy movie, okay. Sorry, your spaces and words are important, guys. Hello from Australia. How the 2008 comedy movie, superhero movie had so many, dude, I'm sorry. I have no idea what it is you're trying to say. Sorry about that. I don't mean to just give over, but I don't understand what it is you're trying to ask. And so I apologize for that, man. All right. Next up, we have Seren Temis Selvum writes, hey, John. First time writing in from Malaysia. Well, thank you for writing in from Malaysia, man. Fan since movie talk and love the show. Thank you so much. Watching Dune in 3 hours. I'm so deadly jealous. I'm still not going to watch it for a couple more weeks. Enjoy Eternals next week. I'm envious. Bring on the filthy. Yeah, I get to watch Eternals on Monday, but you're going to see Dune long before I get to see it. So I am myself a little bit jealous here, man. All right. Have a good time. I hope you really enjoy the film, dude. All right. Alex Von Gollum writes, Gio, just for those you don't know, my real name is Giovanni. That's why sometimes people say Gio. Gio, do you have a restaurant in Toronto's Little Italy that is your go-to? Not really. Because like for me, my go-to Italian restaurant is outside of Toronto. It's about 45 minutes away in my hometown of Hamilton. It's got a population of like almost 1 million people when you count the greater Hamilton Wentworth area. But there's a place there called Chicago Style Pizza. That's the name of the restaurant. Just look up Chicago Style. It is the best Italian food in a restaurant I think you can get. I used to work there when I was in high school. And the chefs in there are at least 3 Italian grandmothers that actually make all this stuff. It is the best. And their deep dish pizza is the best I've ever had. So that would be my recommendation. It's worth the drive. It is worth the drive. If you're in Toronto and you need to take a drive into Hamilton, go to Chicago Style. It's this little Italian restaurant. Best Italian food other than my grandmother's that I've ever had. That's just me. All right. Fanimator writes, do you mind watching Three Idiots and talk about it on the show? I don't have time for that, unfortunately. It's the best Hindi film of all time. Don't let the title fool you. It's actually a drama. Yeah, unfortunately, Fanimator, I don't have time to like watch movies on request. I have a whole load of stuff. Like I haven't started watching Money Heist. I haven't started watching Midnight Mass. There's a whole bunch of things on my list that I need to watch. Plus, I've got shows and things on my ongoing list that I'm watching. So I unfortunately can't take requests. But I listen, like anything else, if I start getting a lot of people writing into saying I should watch it, I'll give it a shot. Same thing I did with Harley Quinn, right? I had no interest in watching Harley Quinn, but I heard from 2 or 3 dozen people that I needed to watch it. So I finally did. And if I get a lot of requests for it, maybe I will at some point. Thanks for writing that in, Fanimator. All right. Bro Joe writes, the dialogue in No Time to Die was easily the worst. Oh, I completely disagree. Overdramatic acting, completely wrong. Mixed with weird editing and quipping was bad. Do you agree? Blew his mind. No, I don't agree. I thought the dialogue in No Time to Die was great. I thought the movie was really good. I thought the acting was fantastic. And if you don't know that there are cheesy, quippy lines in James Bond movies, and I don't know how many James Bond movies you've seen. So no, I thought it was a very good James Bond movie. Not as good as Casino Royale, not as good as Skyfall, but I personally thought it was a really good. And listen, I'm not crapping on your opinion. All film is subjective. If that was your experience with it, that was your experience with it. But you're asking me if I agree. No, I completely disagree. But that doesn't undermine your opinion on how you felt about the movie, brother. All right, Fanimator writes, which movie is better, Inception or Dark Knight? Dark Knight. I love it. By the way, I don't think either of those are Christopher Nolan's best movie. Christopher Nolan's best movie, in my opinion, is Insomnia. But out of those two, I would say Dark Knight. Johnny Vu writes, back in lockdown here in Northwestern Territories, trying to avoid spoilers for Venom and 007. Hope we get to see Dune in theaters. Stay safe, everyone. Yeah, you know what? Fortunately, like in California, a lot of very smart, intelligent people are getting vaccinated. The vaccination rates are going up. As a result, COVID levels are going down. Of course, when you see the maps, of course, the areas where the COVID levels are still staying high are in the areas where people aren't getting vaccinated, whatever. I won't get into that. But overall in California, vaccination numbers are up. Cases are going down. And so we obviously have some precautions we're taking, masks, you got to show proof of vaccination in some places, but I take for granted that there are still places that are very heavy in lockdown. And I really hope you get to see those movies soon, my man. All right. Just Me writes, sorry, it was 400 total productions going on now from Warner Brothers Films, HBO Max, TNT, TBS, CNN, DC, and selling to company like Apple, Ted Lasso, Netflix, etc. Yeah, I still don't know if it's 400 total productions. I don't know that there's 400 total productions going on in the world right now. Now, if you include production as every possible script that's on an executive's desk that may or may not get made, I could see that. That number still seems very, very high to me. So I don't know if that's accurate. I don't know where you're getting that information from, but no, maybe I'm off. Maybe I'm off, Just Me. Maybe I'm off. All right, Sean Nicholson writes, why do you think the theatrical comedy has disappeared? The last real comedy I can think of was Game Night, which was great. Game Night was fantastic, by the way. I love Game Night. That movie, and I wasn't expecting much from Game Night, but Game Night was really, really fun. I mean, it depends on, like, for instance, I would consider Free Guy a comedy. It's more than just a comedy, but I would consider it a comedy. But I think it's just a matter of that they had a very hard time. Listen, all film is subjective and nothing is more subjective than comedy. And it is hard to get people to laugh. Everybody thinks it's easy. It's not. It's hard. And so, yeah, in the last few years, straight up comedies have struggled a little bit. But again, everything goes in waves and everything ebbs and tides. But I would say it's just that it's really hard to make a good comedy. That's what I would go to for that right now. But they're still there. There are still comedies out there. All right, next up, we go to MJV, who writes, John, are you excited for DC FanDome? I am. And what are you most looking forward to? Also, go Habs tomorrow versus your Leaf. Go Leafs, go. What am I most looking forward to? It's going to have to be everything Batman. Now, they already showed me a bunch of Batman stuff and a bunch of other people at CinemaCon about a month or so ago. So I'm really excited to see all that stuff again, and B, see whatever new stuff. Because Robert Pattinson hinted that him and Zoe Kravitz have put together some stuff exclusively for DC FanDome. So look, a lot of stuff I'm looking forward to. Like, what are we going to see from The Flash? What are we going to see from Black Adam? So there's a number of things for sure. But first and foremost for me, it's the Batman. Matt Reeves is the Batman. That's what I'm most excited for. So can't wait to see what they have to show us. All right. Zach Carper writes, remove the politics and Colby Covington really is a great fighter. Oh, he's definitely a great fighter, no doubt. That being said, I also believe Usman stops him even quicker this time. Also, Thug Rose. Man, you can't not help but love Thug Rose. But man, that fight is going to be a barn burner. I think Thug got a little bit lucky in ending that fight as soon as she did in their first fight with Wei. But I think this one will be a much more heavily contested fight. I still think Rose wins, but I think it'll be more of a contested fight. And yeah, listen, Colby Covington is a great fighter. No doubt about it. But Kamaru Usman is another level. He is a better fighter, and he will knock out Colby Covington again. Colby's great. He's absolutely great. But he is not on Usman's level. And he shouldn't even be getting a title shot right now. Like, he just got knocked out by Usman not that long ago. But he is a great fighter, but he will get knocked out again. All right. Sam Automatic writes, do you ever get tired of dumb questions in super chats? No. I mean, because what's a dumb question? You know, there's something somebody's wondering about, and they want to talk about and ask about it. There's really, I mean, the old adage is true. There's no such thing as a dumb question. If there's something that interests you and you think about and whatever, hey, because guess what, Sam? Here's the thing. Anything you might ask, somebody would consider a dumb question. And somebody else wouldn't. Somebody else would think, oh, I'm glad somebody asked that. So no, I'm good with it. I'm totally good with it. All right. Johnny Vu writes, yes, work less, focus on you, will still be here. Yeah, so that was in response to something somebody asked in part 1 of this video, where they said, hey, are you going to do a big recap video on Saturday of DC FanDome? And I said, I'm not, because I'm trying to work less on weekends. The reality is I end up doing at least some degree of work 7 days a week. And I'm trying very hard to break away from that and at least take one full day off on the weekend. So I've got plans for myself on Saturday, which do not include working. So I've got plans on Saturday which do not include working. So probably all of our DC FanDome coverage will happen on Monday, unless Henry Cavill comes walking out and announces he's doing Man of Steel 2. That happens, I may have to break my promise to myself and do a little bit of work, but we'll see. All right. Richard K writes, do you think we could get a Tango and Cash sequel? Absolutely not. Do I think we could get a Tango and Cash reboot? Yes, I do. But a sequel, no, I don't. All right. Ben Rayner writes, just a message to say congrats on your numbers for the channel. You and your crew are awesome. Love your stuff. Thank you so much, Ben. I appreciate that. Yeah, we were talking a little bit earlier about the fact that somehow, some way, during COVID, our movie channel, in an era when there was, for much of the COVID period, there were no movies, we managed to get to 250,000 subscribers. And that we talked earlier about how amazing that was and how grateful we are that we got there. So thank you so much for that, Ben. I appreciate that. All right. And our final question comes to us from Richard K, who tips in like 25 bucks. Thank you, Richard, for supporting our channel on that level, man. And Richard writes, could Marvel do a deal with Sony? Well, if you start with could, the answer is yes, could. But will they? Let's see what your question is. Could Marvel do a deal with Sony that says Sony and Marvel can both use Spider-Man? So if Sony wants him in Venom, Morbid, you probably mean Morbius, Craven, etc., that they can use him, but Marvel will also be able to use him for MCU movies. Both sides win. No, here's the problem, Richard. Both sides lose. Because what neither side is interested in, what Sony has no interest in and what Marvel has no interest in, is making live-action Spider-Man movies that are going to be competing against other live-action Spider-Man movies. Marvel has no interest in making a live-action Spider-Man if Sony's going to be making live-action Spider-Man, and vice versa. So it's not that everybody wins, it's that everybody loses. All it'll do is cause confusion amongst the audience. All it'll do is create, comparisons. And look, Marvel would have to be worried about that, because the reality is, it's all subjective, but to me, reality is that Sony has made better Spider-Man movies than Marvel ever has. Marvel has never made a Spider-Man movie as good as Spider-Man 2. To me, Marvel has never made a Spider-Man movie as good as Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Sony has made the best Spider-Man movies. They've also made the worst Spider-Man movies. Like, let's not forget that. I'm very cognizant of that. But Marvel is not interested in making a Spider-Man movie and then have Sony put out another Spider-Man movie 4 months later that people think is better than Marvel's Spider-Man movie, because Sony has made better Spider-Man movies than Marvel has. But Marvel has also made the worst Spider-Man movie. So they don't want to make a Spider-Man movie and then 3 months later have Marvel put out. Sony doesn't want to make a Spider-Man movie and then 3 months later have Marvel put out a Spider-Man movie that everybody else thinks is better. I mean, so it's a no-win situation for anybody. Could they do it? Oh, of course they could. They could absolutely make that deal if they wanted to. But my belief is neither side has any desire to make that deal. Because if Marvel is making Spider-Man movies, they want to be the only game in town that is making Spider-Man movies. If Sony makes Spider-Man movies, they want to be the only game in town that is making live-action Spider-Man movies. So could it happen? Yeah, it could. Will it happen? I would be, no. I'm not even going to say I'd be shocked. No, neither one of those sides are interested in making that deal, so I don't think it's going to happen. And also, by the way, that was the last question. Thank you so much for writing that, Chris. Sorry, it's late. Thank you so much for writing in that question, Richard. But also, Chris Hunt just sent in a super chat badge just to be supportive. So thank you for that, Chris. All right, guys, it took us 2 parts to do it, but we got through the John Campea After Dark episode tonight. Guys, thank you again to all of you who were there for the live part of the show. My apologies that we weren't able to get through all the questions during the live part of the show, but hey, we got them all done now. So thank you to everybody for doing that. Okay, guys, I'm going to go off and keep working on the John Campea Show tomorrow, and then I got to get to bed because I have to wake up in 5.5 hours. So I'm going to split right now. Thanks for joining me here tonight, guys. See you tomorrow on the John Campea Show. And until then, my friends, bye-bye.